Now playing on Netflix. If the flood doesn't kill you, what lies beneath will. When a Category 5 hurricane decimates a coastal South Carolina town, the storm surge brings devastation, chaos, and something far more frightening. Hungry Sharks. Thrash is now playing only on Netflix. Thrash is rated R.
Listen, all you New Yorkers. Taxi.
Okay, man, we're looking around.
This is the 77 WABC minicast.
Sunday morning, Greek Easter today. And with us today is Senator Dave McCormick from the great state of Pennsylvania. And so many things to talk about. Well, Senator, I talked to you on Friday. We talked about a lot of things. There's a lot of things we missed. One of the things I know you're emotional about, and I spoke to the president when I was with him last Thursday, can we make America drug-free?
Yeah. Well, thanks, John, for having me. And this is something that I really feel very, very, very important to me and to Pennsylvania, which is fentanyl. And that's, of all the drugs that we've got to get control of, fentanyl is far and away the worst. And in the Commonwealth of Pennsylvania, during the Biden years, in part because of the open border policy, we were losing, by 2024, 4,000 Pennsylvanians a year to fentanyl, most of them kids, almost 100,000 nationwide. This is unbelievable, John. You go back to the Vietnam War, where over the course of 7 or 8 years, we lost 53,000 killed in action. We lost 2 Vietnams in 1 year. That's how bad this was. And President Trump ran on it. I ran on it. He said this has to stop. And the president has done everything we could have hoped. He secured the border. He's used our military, which I supported from day one, to go after these cartels, the drug boats coming out of Venezuela, but also the cartels across the Mexican border. He's put pressure on China to stop sending these prefactors of fentanyl into Mexico. And his FBI and drug enforcement and our local prosecutors have gone after these drug lords and really made a huge difference. And so I had the FBI director to come to Pennsylvania last week. He was my guest in the Lehigh Valley around Allentown. And here's what we found. 4,000 fentanyl deaths in Pennsylvania in 2024. In 2025, preliminary numbers 1,600. It's down more than 60% because of the policies and the great work of law enforcement up and down the chain. And that 1,600 is 1,600 too many. But we're making real progress. And if you've ever sat with a family that lost a child to fentanyl, it's like someone reaching down your throat and pulling your heart out. We've got to stop this poison. And thanks to the president's efforts, we're making real progress on it. We got a lot of work to do, but it was a good day to just reflect. And during that press conference, we had the FBI director there. We had 3 fentanyl families who spoke about their tragedy and how they hoped that their tragedy would help others understand this poison and do something about it, which is what we're doing.
Senator, I just don't understand some of our Democratic friends. They're fighting us on shooting down those boats full of drugs that kill our kids. I just don't understand it anymore.
It's absolute madness. It's absolute madness. And the thing that you realize is that this is very much just opposition to Trump. In many cases, this is Trump derangement syndrome. And let me give you an example of that. So the operation into Venezuela was a remarkable operation. This was 2 hours on the ground. In the middle of Caracas, they snatched Maduro, who is a federally indicted criminal. It was picture perfect, not a single casualty. And the Democrats were in opposition, violation of the president's constitutional authority, just outraged. So go back in time, and this is why it was directed to Trump. Go back in time. I was in the 82nd Airborne Division when the 82nd Airborne Division did a similar operation. I was not on the ground for this, where they went into Panama, put 15,000 troops on the ground. There were a number of killed in action American soldiers. It took 14 days to get Noriega out of the to find him and get him out of the embassy of the Papal embassy, of the Pope's embassy in Panama. And the Democrats in the House and the Senate universally applauded President George H.W. Bush's efforts. Democrats applauded it. It's exactly the same scenario, and Democrats are universally opposed to it, despite the kids that are getting killed every day, because it was Trump doing it. And this is why it doesn't make sense, because it doesn't make sense.
Senator, you're a military senator. You were in the military. Our military did a great job in Iran. Does China and Russia have a new respect for our military?
Listen, the one thing that we had lost, we've had the most superior military in the world forever, but what we saw it on display was just remarkable. And I was in the Gulf War, which was viewed as, the most successful, I think, war in modern history. 6 weeks on the ground, universal success over Iraq. And what we've done in Iran is far greater in scale and scope, no casualties, or less casualties rather, and only 13 killed in action, which 13 horrible deaths, but compared to the Gulf War, many hundreds. This was an amazingly successful military operation directed against a illegitimate regime that had reaped terror for decades, and the president was incredibly clear on the objectives. So this is a supremely successful military operation, and now the Iranians face a choice in these negotiations, which are ongoing, on whether they're going to give up enriched uranium, give up their path to a nuclear weapon, and hopefully we'll find a peaceful resolution, or whether they're going to continue to insist on that, and we should be very skeptical of anything they say. And, I just applaud the president's strength in making sure that we eliminate this threat. Just imagine, John, a world where Kamala Harris had been president and Iran had 3 more years of building up their ballistic missile capabilities and 3 years closer to a nuclear weapon. That missile that got dropped on Diego Garcia, 2,500-mile missile that they insisted they didn't have, that could have a nuclear warhead on it in a couple years. That is what the president is saving our kids from, and I applaud his efforts.
And that's what we need. We're out of time, but that's where another discussion we need in the future, maybe next week, is NATO. Me and you, I think, are very disappointed in our allies.
Totally disappointed. I mean, and your listeners should be clear. What we were asking NATO countries, we were asking them for overflight, and we were asking them the ability to refuel. We weren't asking them to put French boots on the ground in Iran, and they disappointed us beyond belief. It was disgraceful. These are countries that we put American young men into the beaches of Normandy to protect, and NATO was the outcropping of that, and they're not doing the most basic level of support for us. They have their own domestic politics, but this is absolutely unacceptable. And I think here's what I hope, John. I think NATO plays a very valuable role. There are members of NATO that are incredible partners, some that are terrible partners. I think we're going into deep marital counseling. I hope it's not going to end in divorce, but we got to make sure they know that the relationship has to come back into balance.
I agree. Well, Senator McCormick from the great state of Pennsylvania, thank you so much for coming on this Sunday morning, Greek Easter, and we'll talk to you again real soon.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.